Hi guys, welcome back to Reserved Investments on YouTube. Pardon my appearance, it is very early in the morning. I did just wake up just about. I have yet to have breakfast or herbal tea. I am going to be talking about today, I wanted to do just a follow-up video in the same style, not on the same topic, of the last video that I did called Debunking the Belief that all popular toys and games eventually become collectible. And yes, I'm paraphrasing that particular topic based on what I called the video. But if you look under the videos that I released under this channel, you should be able to find that video if you haven't seen it already. You do not need to watch that video to understand the topic that I'm going to be discussing in this video. It's just I consider this more advanced collecting strategies with these several topics. As a matter of fact, side note, eventually I plan to set up playlists on my channel. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to group advanced collecting strategies, then basic collecting strategies, then have other topics like video games, comic books, movie posters, coins, currency, all grouped together so that if somebody just wants to watch like several videos on one topic, they can do that. We're talking something that's few weeks, few months down the line. In this particular video, I am going to also go back to using Harry Rinker as an example because when I wrote the email that I sent him in the other video that I just referenced, I did that back in June 2012, and I also sent him another email, that he also commented on. So I want to go through that because I think it sets precedence for what we're going to go into next. And I just want to put this out there. A lot of people right now who are unsophisticatedly investing and speculating in a lot of what I call modern mass-produced collectibles. We're talking video games, Lego sets, Funko Pops, any popular toy right now that's trending. A lot of people think that a lot of future generations are going to pursue these items, okay? I have always disagreed with that, and I can cite numerous examples. If you want me to do a video on that, I've already brought up Western collectibles. How back in the people who grew up in the 1950s and 60s were really in tune to shows like Gunsmoke, Bonanza, Lone Ranger, items of that nature, and a lot of the collectibles that came out related to those items from that time period started soaring in value in the 1970s, 1980s, even the early 90s. Well, today, if you attend an auction and you start pricing those items and you compare the prices sold to what they were going for in the 80s, early 90s, we're talking 50 to 60 to 70% loss. I mean, if you want an example of that, I did another video on the massive speculative bubble that Atari endured during 1995 to 2005. Something similar where if you bought into that speculative bubble at that time and you saved a lot of those Atari, ColecoVision, and television items, today you're selling them at a tremendous loss. No one's desiring those items anymore. And a lot of people ask me, do you think that could happen to Nintendo, Sega, what's another big one right now, TurboGrafx-16, Super Nintendo? And the answer is always yes, because you don't also know what technology is on the horizon. For instance, 10 years ago, no one would have ever predicted this, okay? If you look up the value of the games that come built on this, I guarantee you're going to see a downward trend, whether you use eBay or price charting from when this system was released, because this is $60. That's the manufacturer's suggested retail price. You get 30 games on this. I'm sorry, I would not, and I tell people this, why would you buy a cartridge-only copy of Legend of Zelda for $20 or $30 when you can buy this and have it built in? It almost made, and I hate to say this because I'm a collector too of vintage games, okay? But it almost made having the original copy taking up shelf space obsolete, okay? So I caution people, and I have a whole other video coming up on, I'm going to be doing one on comic books because I'm very in tune to that market. I'm also going to be doing one just on basic speculation and understanding what goes into speculation, thinking about it, whether it's good, bad, neutral, and the end result usually within speculative bubbles. That said, in this particular video, what I'm trying to get at here is we're going to be talking about the probability that most of the mass-produced collectibles coming out and already out on the market are what I call one-generation collectibles. Meaning it's very rare that you're going to be able to pass something like a graded Wii U system down 2 generations and it's going to sell for a record price at auction. Okay? Most likely, and I hate to say this because I have an attachment to this stuff too, okay? But most likely within 50 years, no one's going to care about a Wii U system. And I know you guys are looking back at the original Nintendo going, wait a minute, Sean, we're 30, 40 years out and people are still clamoring for this stuff. But if you look at the price trends, see right now we're in a second speculative bubble thanks to grading of games, whether it be WADA, VGA, whatever. But you have to look at price trends. Most of the Nintendo games peaked 2015. Now they're starting a downward trend, unless you have something mint in box or factory sealed in box that is in such good condition it'll grade high through one of the grading services. Okay? Because that's where the market's going. Okay? There's going to be 2 markets developing in the vintage and modern era video game collectibles category anymore. It's going to be games people want just to play, and it's going to be more investment preserved items that they can either flip for a profit or hope that they keep going up in value, which they won't. Another video on that. But that's what most likely is going to happen with the vintage video game market. Most people want sealed and graded stuff, or they just want the stuff to play, and that's fine. So I'm going to get right to the point here. In June 2012, I wrote Harry Rinker. We started exchanging emails. Again, I am not sponsored by any company, corporation, anything. I do write for Antiques and Auction News. I am a freelance writer, so my content is my own. Whatever I choose to put in that publication, as long as my editor's okay with it, which normally he is, I live and die by my own words. What that means is whatever I say and comment on usually goes, okay? So, what that should say to you is, this channel, as you can tell, I think I have 16, 17 subscribers at current time. So it's obvious I'm not doing any promotional advertising for this channel either. I want it to be as completely neutral and unbiased as possible. So when I share you these emails and when I recommend you guys read articles from someone else in the trade or read books like Killer Stuff and Tons of Money, it's because I truly believe it's going to help you. It's not because I have any type of financial incentive or anything. Everything that I'm recommending to you is what I use to get my own knowledge. Now, does that mean I'm always right? No, it does not. And I want to put that out there. You can differ or disagree with me. That's fine. I would caution, though, how much you differ and disagree with me, because it could have consequences not just in 1 to 2 years from now. I'm talking in regards to your financial future. It could have consequences 10 to 20 years down the line, and at that point, it may be too difficult to make a change. So all is what I'm asking you to do is just listen to what I'm saying. If you don't agree with it, that's fine. Put a comment in the comment section. I usually respond. If it's something that I feel I can comment on, and it's done in a respectful manner, I will respond, okay? So without further ado, this article, and this is on harryrinker.com, www.harryrinker.com. Go to his archived articles page if you want to read the original article, or the email that I sent him. It's column 1334. That's 1334. So I'm going to start reading it, and it's titled, What Guarantee? A June 5th, 2012 email from Sean Cermick reads, I was wondering how you deal with collectors and speculators who truly believe that the items they are buying now are going to be worth a lot of money in the future. I am not talking about items that do have the potential to increase, such as high-end coins, currency, pre-1965 comic books, and some antiques. I am referring to mass-produced, store-bought toys, modern-era comic books, Magic the Gathering current non-reserve list game cards, and current video games. Is it best to even enter into a discussion with these individuals, or just leave it alone? This is how Harry Rinker responded. Better safe than sorry was one of my mother's favorite expressions. Unfortunately, I was never a faithful listener or follower of my mother's advice, much to her regret. My mother's coffin is round inside due to the number of times she has turned over in her grave because of a comment I made when I should have probably kept my mouth shut, in my opinion to myself. The safest approach is to avoid discussing the topic of future collectability with these individuals. First, they seem to know more than anyone else. Second, they are deaf to any opinion that does not agree with their own. Third, they are misguided optimists, assuming that past practice could not possibly apply in their case. What he's referring to by past practice is, if you look at a lot of collecting categories, whether it be from the 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, a lot of them hit a peak and then decelerated in value, meaning they started dropping in value substantially, okay? That's what he means, okay? So I'm going to go on with this email, his response, before I comment further. Sitting atop the cabinet unit mounted above the credenza, God, is that a mouthful, to the left of the desk housing my computer is a wooden cross to which a Thai stinky beanie baby is arrogantly nailed. The rectangular plaque above the beanie baby reads, King of the Fools. The caption on the bottom of the cross and base is, presented to Harry Rinker, Speaker of the Truth, from the dealers in central Indiana who refuse to sell Thai beanie baby items. It is signed by more than 25 dealers. It is among my most proudest possessions and a tribute to my call it like I see it approach. During the height of the beanie baby craze, I was known, meaning Harry Rinker, as the Beanie Meanie. I appeared on numerous radio and television shows trying to convince listeners and viewers that the Beanie Baby craze was a speculative bubble. This too shall pass was my rallying cry. Occasionally, I was asked to be part of a panel, the opposing voice to the Beanie Baby devotees. I remember one instance when a proponent said, Beanie Babies are the Hummels of the future. It took me over 30 seconds to stop laughing. Beanie Baby advocates did have their days in the sun, but a dark cloud descended over the Beanie Baby realm in late 1999. The rains came and they lasted longer than 40 days and nights. The speculative dam burst in 2000. Today, the lake behind the dam is bone dry. Okay? Now I'm going to stop there for a little bit, okay? And I just want you to understand that he's leading in with Beanie Babies because that's one of the prominent speculative bubbles that everybody thought, especially when eBay launched, that was going to be catapulted even higher. There were people, when eBay came out, you know, if you watch my video on the speculative craze of Atari, I kind of hit at other collecting categories that were popular at that time. People were spending, I am talking credit card debt, loans. I had one guy, and I hate to even say this because even I feel guilty, 20 years out, who was buying high-end Atari games at the time using student loan payments. So not only, just think about that, a student loan payment. Any of you guys have student loan debt out there, you can't just discharge that through bankruptcy. You hit hard times, the government gets their money, okay? That's backed by taxpayers like you and me. The government lends the people money, they go to school, okay? The fact that this dude was using student loans to buy vintage video games at the time just tells you how the market was chaotic. And I'm sure right now out there's people doing that now with other collecting categories, okay? It just boggles my mind, though, why you would use something like a truly secured asset, which you can argue it isn't. Secured asset usually means it's backed by another asset that they can take if you default in the loan. Well, in the case of student loans, if you default, first of all, if you get a tax refund, they're taking that. They can garnish your wages, and they can sue you and put a lien against anything that you have. So it's very serious. So I kind of feel bad if somebody was buying something like Chase the Chuck Wagon for the Atari 2600 for $250, and today it dropped 50% of its value, and they used a student loan to pay for it, no less. That's ridiculous, okay? So, that said, I'm going to go on in this, and we're going to go to what he says next. Early in the movie The Graduate, Mr. McGuire asked Benjamin Braddock to step outside during a cocktail party. I just want to tell you something, just one word, plastics. There is a great future in plastics. The next time someone wants to talk to you about the long-term collectability of a contemporary collectible, ask them to step outside. Tell them there is just one word you'd like to share with them. Pogs. They're made of plastic. Okay? One thing that I love, Harry Rinker is an older gentleman. He's probably today, he's got to be in his late 70s. Okay? And he still writes a column. Okay? He's very intelligent, has a lot of years experience, and he was also, I can kind of relate to him a little bit because he was successful in other areas of his life, but he was just a passionate collector as well. And one thing that I love when he writes these articles is, I usually have a limit on the articles that I write that are 1,200 words or less. Harry Rinker sometimes goes like thousands of words in these articles, and he uses examples sometimes that you kind of have to think about, because if you're not from his era, you sit there and read, why the heck is he bringing out The Graduate, which was a 1967 movie? But when you think about it, and if you have to Google it, it's like, oh, okay, it makes sense. So I'm going to go on here, and I just want to go down here, and I want to come here and just read this one part. Guarantees, especially in long-term collectibles, ended in the late 1980s. Do not be fooled by the current gains in the high end of the antiques and collectibles marketplace. There are no blue chip antiques or collectibles. Let me repeat that because I agree with this 100%. There are no blue chip antiques or collectibles. Whether you have an Amazing Spider-Man 1, what do I want to say? An Amazing Spider-Man 1, an Amazing Fantasy 15, whether you have something like a Honus Wagner baseball card, that's very rare. What he is saying is there are no blue chip antiques or collectibles. I agree with that, believe it or not, and I'll explain why. This too shall pass. Why I may not live to see it, my descendants will. No matter what the current evidence suggests, and listen to this, comic collectors, no one will convince me that a 9.0 or higher graded Action Comics 1 introducing Superman will ever sell for $1 million or more in the year 2138. At the moment, auctioneers and investors equate comic books with autographs and coins, which is a major miscalculation. I just want to center around that because this was written in 2012. In 2019, I still agree with that statement, okay? And the market has lessened a bit for most comic books. I want to put that out there, okay? Some have accelerated, yes, but a large portion have also fallen in value, which they're not going to talk about on any of the wonderful comic collecting forums because they're populated by speculators. I can give you a list if you want, okay? Time is an enemy and a friend. Beware of those who measure time only in decades. Superman turned 75 in 2013. Okay, I'm reading this in 2019, so that was 6 years ago. He is only 3 years older than me. Superman's first long-term test will come in 2138. If I am lucky, I will be a footnote in history. Will Superman be more? Superman's next test will be in 2538. Can you guys imagine that? 500 years, 600 years out? That's what he's referring to. How do you think Superman will do then in 2538? The ghost of our Renaissance forebears already know, okay? And that's why, guys, what I want to lead into with this video is, well, Sean, you know, you keep showing us all this negative or somewhat negative press related to antiques and collectibles, yet you're also showing off stuff that you own. So that's not clicking for me. What's your end game here? Why are you showing us this and then proudly putting this video out, displayed with a 90 graded Wii U system and a 9.4 Time Walk NES game? I don't get it. Okay, and I'm going to tell you. First of all, I enjoy these items just like the next person. Okay, what I realize different than the people who are emotionally attached to these items is that I recognize there is a time and place where at some point, these items that I'm showing you here, the Lego, video games, stuff of that nature, pop culture-based collectibles, in order for me to maximize their profit, if I so wish to do so, they're going to have to be sold during my lifetime. I've said this before. Handing this down to the next generation is going to be more of a hindrance than a gain for that generation, okay? And there's a lot of people that want to argue that with me, and that's fine. Just read this article again, okay? But that is something that I don't think a lot of speculators realize, because when I go on forums, oh, I'm building a collection so I can give it to my son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew. There's instructions in my will and last testament. If there's any collectibles of this nature left, they get sold immediately. Do not hand them down unless if somebody has an emotional attachment to the item or says, you know what, I'd really love to have this Wii U, okay? That said, notice I'm talking about mass-produced collectibles here. You're going to go, well, Sean, then what do you recommend that people invest for the long term, 100 years out, 200 years out? Sure, you have to go after historic items. And again, this is going to branch off into another video in that realm. I'm talking things like historic documents, coins, currency, certain autographs. I don't go too deep in autographs because when most people collect autographs, they collect all the wrong things. Like, how many times has Stan Lee signed his name on something? And people go, oh, Stan Lee's, gone. So he's not going to be signing anything else. So that would be a good investment. Incorrect, because there's got to be 100,000 pieces out there with his signature on them. Okay? Everything from comic books to just pieces of paper with a little doodle and his signature. I don't consider that a worthy investment. Okay? Long term. That said, if you like it, by all means, buy it. But just understand, to maximize those gains, you're going to have to buy at the right time, you're going to have to sell at the right time, and you're going to have to be emotionally detached to know when the right time to sell is, should you want to make money or get your money back from that item. There's some people that watch my videos, and I get this, they read my column, and they say, Sean, I just enjoy collecting. Okay? I don't care about the financial aspect. And I say to them, you know what, that's fine, but just know, what you collect and how much money you spend on things and where you allocate your funds says a lot about you and how you live your life. It also tells me how successful you're going to be as an individual. So if you live in your house and you have a whole wall full of Funko Pops and you say, I don't care about the value, and I sit there and I go, dear Lord, there's $10,000 worth of Funko Pops there. Whether or not you realize it or not, that says something to me about you, okay? Whether it's true or not, or is an honest reflection of yourself, it says something to the world and anyone. Whether it's somebody you date, your parents, siblings, coworkers, people you respect, that says something to those people, okay? They are getting a vibe from that, an idea of who you are, okay? Now, I don't want you to take that too far, as I understand that there's a lot of people that don't understand what goes in collecting. Like, I meet a lot of people in my line of work who don't even understand that you can invest in antiques and collectibles, okay? You just have to have a proper plan. You have to have an understanding of the market, and you have to have some understanding of advanced collecting strategies, and you also have to detach your emotions from that as well. It's very hard. I get emails all the time and comments, I love my Nintendo Wii U, or I love my Nintendo 64, GameCube. I want to collect every game for it, and I just want to own it forever. Well, you can do that, but if you're buying at the wrong time, you're going to overpay for a lot of those items. And I understand you may say, well, it was worth it to me because I wanted to get those items. You still have to understand what you're sacrificing in the long term by doing that. And that's where a little bit of financial education comes in. You have to understand the cost of inflation. You have to understand that there's mutual funds out there, whether or not you're a fan or not. I can go into this in another video because I am educated in finance. Like, I'll use this as an example, Vanguard Wellington Fund, or even an S&P 500 index fund, that have returned 8 to 10% on average, okay, for the last 50, 60 years, 70 years in some cases, okay? And that's an average. That means you aggregate the gains and the losses across the spectrum of time, and that's what you're going to get, an 8 to 10% return. I can assure you, putting $10,000 worth of Funko Pops on a shelf is not going to get you an 8 to 10% return, because chances are you're either going to sell after the bubble at the wrong time or what have you. It's just not something that I would consider worth putting that type of money in. But if you enjoy it, you have the money, everything else is taken care of, by all means, brother, go for it. Or sister, go for it. Okay? So I just wanted to do this video. I hope that all what I want to do in this video is get your mind thinking in this direction, where you understand that nothing's guaranteed. Whether you come into the comic book market and maybe you have a significant sum of money and you go after an Action Comics 1, a Detective Comics 27, an Amazing Spider-Man 1, whatever, it's not guaranteed, okay? Even coins and currency, there are certain items, once you learn the market, that you would be better off investing in than others. Okay? And sometimes the answer surprises you. That's why, like, I did a video recommending certain books on collecting coins for that reason. Okay? I'm trying to just open up your mind to get you to think in either a new method of analyzing things, or just to become a little bit more, I hate to say it, pessimistic, where you can look at something and go, you know, in 200 years, will anybody care about a graded Back to the Future Lego set? And maybe you say, well, that doesn't bother me, Sean, I'm going to be dead then. Okay, well, you got to break it down even further. In 20 years, is anybody going to care about a graded Back to the Future Lego set? You know, if somebody offered me something for this that I considered more than what I have into it, I would probably sell it. I'm being very honest. Okay, I can detach myself from the emotions I have with this item, if that makes sense. Okay, it's harder for me to do it in certain items. Coins, currency, I do get a little bit attached to. Sometimes I miss the boat when there's a speculative boom or a bump up in certain coin categories or currency markets. With that said, more in the pop culture realm, I'm willing to let stuff go because it's easier to acquire again. For instance, even this Wii U system, if I sold this, guarantee you somewhere along the line I can find another. Guarantee you there's some distributor out there that has a couple of these in a warehouse that I can hunt down if I needed to. I may pay a premium to get them again, but they're always out there. Okay, this for now would be a little bit harder to replace because it's a time walk game. Not too many people are sending these to Wada Games yet. Okay, so you have to look at it in that perspective. Another video I have coming up is on vintage advertising. So if any of you guys are American Pickers fans, you will like that video, I think, because I use examples from around my house. My house is done in vintage advertising, vintage movie posters. So it's kind of neat to see the different pieces that I have, Coca-Cola, Dr. Pepper. It's another video, okay? So I'm sorry if I'm rambling in this video. I know some of the feedback I get is that my videos are too long. I did, however, want to spend some time talking about this because I consider it more of a pessimistic topic, and I wanted to make sure that I covered all the bases before I just say, oh yeah, that's it. No, there's a lot to this, okay? And yes, I don't want you guys to think that I'm pessimistic on collecting in general or anything. That's not the position that I'm trying to put out. I just want you to have all the facts so you know what you're getting into if you do decide you want to start becoming a more serious investor or a more serious collector, speculator, what have you. Okay? So again, thank you for watching. Wow, this is almost 30 minutes. I do apologize. Any questions, comments, dislikes, likes, let me know in the comments. I'll gladly respond. Thank you, and good morning.